What's up everybody, Dan here. Today I'm going to show you how to design pencils. Let's focus on the first model we're gonna make, this one with the cylindrical base. Let's start by adding a cylinder. Let's bring it up, select the top face. We're gonna extrude it up to, I would say, the top, roughly, like the other one. And here you can decide if you want the tip to be very sharpened. So I would go probably with something like this, very fine. Otherwise, you can think of having something a bit smoother, like one that has been used. So I would probably go something like this, and then you want to extrude the tip a little bit more and then scale it down, like so. Let's go on the side view. We want also this separation here, and to do that I will select my bisect. I'll drag a line roughly where I want my tip. Then you can move this, of course, and do it in a oblique way, because it's unlikely that the tip will be completely horizontal, so this way it looks a bit more realistic. After that, we want to add on the bottom this circle here. So we select the face on the bottom, press I and decrease the size until we are happy. Let's say something like that. You want to convert to shade smooth and auto smooth. For this pencil, we're gonna use three material. One is the side, basically, the inner wood, and the graphite. We have the material ready, but I'm gonna show you how they're made so you can replicate them exactly as they are. So once you have selected your object, we need three materials, so I'll add three material like this. Let's start with the graphite. And as you can see, the shader, it's pretty basic. There's not much going on. You can replicate exactly as you can see this. Next one is going to be the wood around the tip. So you select the faces on the top, and also you select the faces on the bottom, apart from the central one. You don't want the central one. So then you go into your second material, click assign. You would see a default material, a white material, and I'm gonna select my wood material, which is a bit more complex. It's all procedural. We start with the texture coordinate and mapping. They are generated, and I scaled one of the axes to give some sense of length to the wood. Then I used a Voronoi texture. Then I used both distance and color channel. The color goes into a color ramp, which is, it seems that it's white. It's not really white, but it goes from white to almost white. And I'll show you why in a moment. This is basically to fine-tune the color of the wood. The color of the wood goes into a mix RGB set as multiply in the first channel. The second channel is the color, so the hue of the wood. The color is connected to the base color, while the distance is connected to another color ramp set like this. It's basically to change the contrast of the map, and it goes into a bump node and into normal. Let's see this up close, what's going on. If left from black to white as standard, I would have very strong difference between the dark and the light color. I just wanted some difference. In the same way, with the distance, if left natural, let's increase the bump so you can see what's happened, I would see much stronger bump. I wanted just some, like the splinters of wood in the tip. I changed also the scale of the texture to have it more stretched across the length, and the bottom it's already like this. For the body, it's very simple. We select the faces, we go here, and we'll check natural wood here, and then assign. And it's very similar, the material, to the previous wood. What I changed, it's basically the color, and I reduced the bump very much. So let me show the two colors. So the natural cover, it's darker and there's less bump because it's more like a layer on top of the pencil. And it's shinier, basically. And from a material point of view, that's it. This model is basically done. You can change the external part, which is this one in this case, just changing here what material you want. I have a bunch already made, and there's nothing special about this material. They are just color without any other node. So they're very basic material. Of course, if you want a colored pencil instead of just a black one, normal gray one, you want to select also the graphite slot and select the same color you use for the exterior, and they both will change at the same time. From the same base of the cylindrical pencil, we can create this pencil that's usually used for woodworks. So it's a technical pencil for woodworks, which is a bit longer on one side. It's like flatter and longer, but really it's exactly the same model. And what you want to do is select part of the model and just move. So if you select, let's go in this view, if you select half of it and then move it on a side, and then I change the material to red and also change the length here of the tip. You want to change only the top part and then maybe making the top smaller. They come usually in red, so that's why the model here is in red. But let's move on to the next one, which is the classic pencil with 6 sides. So it's a cylinder with 6 sides, while the top is round and maybe a bit tricky, but there is actually a trick to cheat on how to build this geometry very, very fast. So this time we want to start with the cylinder. We change the side to 6 because we only need 6 this time. Move it up, and actually I'm gonna bring the top of the pencil up there. Let me hide this pencil, we don't need it now. Then we're gonna create a cone with a circular base, so with a lot of vertices, and we scale it, and actually we need to scale it pretty much to cover the pencil. Let's go in wireframe mode so we can see the size of the cone. We can bring it up. We add the modifier solidify. Then we select our cylinder and we operate the boolean and we select the cone. Nothing is happening because I need to change the solidify thickness. And now as I make it smaller, you can clearly see that I'm creating the pencil top. Let me hide our cone that we use for the boolean. Show the other one. What you see, there is a difference here, and it's because the other cone was taller with a smaller base. So we can do the same here. Select our cone. We're gonna press S, press Shift Z. So I'll change the base, but I don't change the height. And now it's so much better. It's pretty much like the other one. Shade smooth as usual. And let's assign a color so we can see better what we're doing. Assign a blue. We want to go into auto smooth. Now the main difference between these two, okay, we don't have a tip yet, and we want actually to apply the boolean because we have already our shape. We can delete the cone we used to cut into our pencil. Shade smooth, and here we can go with auto smooth. Well, 30 is okay. The other one on the top is never completely sharp. It's always flat. It's when you use a pencil, it gets flat. While here we have only one vertex. We can fix this easily. As usually we do this, and we start with cut here, and then let's do the tip with a different angle this time. We have also a hole on the top, so we want to select all these vertices and press F. If we look at the geometry, flat geometry, we see that we have these sharp edges here, and they are not normal in a pencil. It's very, very hard. They don't really exist. So what I want to do is actually select all these sides and maybe also the bottom. And now Ctrl B, give it some nice bevel. The final part, it's having here a circle. But how can we have a circle from an hexagon? Well, there are different ways. This is what I do because I find it much easier to do it. So we insert the shape, the size we need. Then I selected just the edges. I subdivide the edges as many times as you want. Let's say 2 should be enough. Now I select the vertices. Let's say that I select these ones and I scale them and I get my circle. Okay, we need to reduce the auto smooth because we don't want this blend between the sides and the top. Let's say 12 probably will do to have the top round while the other parts could be, the sides could be a bit flatter. Now we want to add 2 new slots. One is gonna be our wood, we already have there, and one is gonna be the graphite or a color, depending on what you want to do with this pencil. So let's select first the bottom face and the tip. Select the slot, assign, then we select these faces here and we go with wood, and we also go on the bottom and we select this one as wood, and that's done. In reality, as you can see here, I selected more faces as wood, while here I only selected the bottom. It depends on the design you want to give to your pencil. So let's say that if you want it more like the one on the left, now it is. Actually, for my color pencil here, I use this layer of paint on the bottom too. I think it's very common in a colored pencil, so you can see what's the color if they are upside down, instead of seeing just the graphite. So in this case, you want to select everything that is on the bottom and just assign the same color. Color pencil, the tip must be the same color too. Let's try to add some detail to the pencil, so having some other color in the design of the exterior of the pencil. So first of all, we select the bottom part. I would assign the same color of the pencil, a couple of cuts in the geometry, and we cannot use the loop cut, so we have to go with the bisect again. So we'll say one here and another one a bit higher. If you made this cut and they are not completely horizontal, that's easy to fix. Just select the vertices, press S, Z, 0, and now they're all horizontal. Again, select S, Z, 0. And basically it scales the position of the vertices until there's no difference between the highest one and the lowest one. Now you can select all these faces all around, assign a new color. So let's add another slot, assign a red, and maybe we want the bottom part to be black. So assign another slot and let's go with black. Maybe it would be better inverting them. So we select these and assign this to red, and then select the other part to black. If you're not happy with the position of these two, of course you can move them up and down, and you have a new design. Let's see how to add some text. Of course you can use a texture with any design, but I find it very useful to have the text editable inside the scene, because I may want to change the pencil to something else. So I'll show you how to do it inside Blender without texture. Let's add the text object. Then we want to rotate this. And we want to rotate in the Y axis too. Then you may want to align them exactly. Right click, set origin to geometry. And then I'm going to align the X. So I select text, select the pencil, item, and align X. And now I can move my text out of the pencil. I have some text. That's not what you want because it's flat. It's not exactly in the right position. You want to have it slightly over the pencil. Let's write something more interesting, like subscribe, guys. It's very important. We have our subscribe pencil here. Once you have this, It's not exactly on top of this, but it may work in the majority of the case. Don't forget to parent the text to the pencil this way. So once you move the pencil, the text goes along. Let's have more text. Change this to... One way to have the text that it's a bit more on top, as it was a sticker, it's actually increasing the extrusion of the text, and then you put it back on the pencil so it's no more floating. This is a way to do it. Another way, it's instead to create an embossing. I'll keep both so you can see the difference. You need to convert this text object to mesh. Then you select the pencil, go to Boolean, and do difference. And now you can hide the text, and you see that you have embossed your pencil with the text. It's a bit too deep. You have still the other text, so you can move it. I'll show you how to do it without showing the text. You select from the outliner and then move it from here. Maybe you want it just a little bit. Now, of course, you may want to change the color of this. And right now it's green, and it's because it gets the first color in the stack here. So if you add, for example, another color, it still gets the first one. So you want to move this up until it's up there. And I don't like this one. I have another one. Okay, this one. Or maybe silver. I have a metal. Or you can have it black. That means that we don't need this, but you want to move up the black. So this is something that works with every Boolean. When you do a Boolean, the difference geometry will get the first material in the stack. In the file you download, you will have also a template pencil with the text already in place, that it's editable, so you can just tap tab and add whatever text you want. And you will have also one pencil with already an embossed HP, which is a kind of common pencil. You will notice some of the pencils have this kind of round bottom, and you can have the same effects on the one we made, just selecting all the faces and then scaling them on the Z-axis a little bit. Final part, which is probably the most complicated one, it's realizing this beat. They come in different designs, different size, different color, so we'll try to make one as quickly as possible. I'm going to show you how to do this one, which is the most complicated one, while the other one is just a cylinder. So I'd start creating the rubber, and again, it's a cylinder, as you can imagine. We can remove the bottom face. Then I would add probably a cut here, roughly. Then I can select the bottom face and shrink it a little bit. At this point, I can select all these edges and bevel them so it's smoother. I want to have shade smooth. And then you can decide the shape of the eraser based on whatever you like, really. You can make the curve a bit more gentle, for example. So scale from the Z even more. Once you have this shape, you assign the material. I'm going to show you what material I'm using. There is a very fine grain. I don't know if you can see that from the video. On the normal input of the principal node, there is just a bump map, and here are the settings. To create this folder here in the best way possible, I would use the geometry of the pencil, because if you have a geometry that is slightly different, this may not fit your pencil. So I'm going to select this loop here. I'm gonna duplicate, and I'm going to separate it as new object. I can extrude it on the Z-axis. Let's go here until we reach the eraser. I'm gonna assign my material. Again, they are very, very simple material. There are two different, and I'm gonna show you why. As this one is a copy of the pencil, has heredited all the same material, we only need one actually, it's already there, which is this gold. So we can remove everything else. This solder actually goes a bit over the pencil, so I'm gonna scale it just a little bit until it's bigger than the pencil. Also realize that probably I want this slightly taller. Gonna scale it down the eraser. So even if you squeeze the eraser a bit, and let's move this down instead, you will see that we'll always have this problem. If we scale it too much, we will have a lot of space around, which doesn't happen normally. While on cylindrical pencils, this is just a cylinder, we need to change the shape from 6 sides to cylinder. Create a circle exactly with the same amount of vertices, which is 24. Remove the ones we don't like. So we have these two, the top and the bottom, and then we can start recreating our geometry. Once we have all of these, we can just select them all, press F. Shade smooth, and now we have exactly the kind of shape that we want. Of course, the bottom is still too large, so we want to scale it down to the dimension of the rubber, and then we can create these bumps. The bisects, I will just do something like this. I'm going to scale them down, then I can create an offset edge loop, roughly here. I'm going to remove the edges in the central part because I don't need them. I'm gonna assign to the central part a new material, which is ready-made, a new slot, and it's the gold material here. Once we assign the material, which is exactly the same one of the other gold, but with the bump map, we need to assign some UV here so it shows. And I created this effect with just a wave texture set as bands inside the bump map into the normal input. We're only missing now these ridges here. If we select this and I cut this enough, and then I offset this, then I'm gonna bring it inside or outside actually. And I'm going to do the same for the bottom one. I'll cut with bisect here, then with offset edge loop and extend. I want to add some bevel. I would go with this, which is slightly easier to do. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now bevel. Here there is one more, so you can add one more if you want. If you want also to change the taper, now we can rescale the eraser a little bit. If you have this kind of problems, you can still scale back the whole thing until they disappear. If you hide a second the pencil and the rubber, you will notice that you have two faces here. We don't need them because this solder, it's actually very flat, has no depth at all. You want to select this face and the bottom one, remove them, and here it is. To download this Blender file, follow the link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and talk to you soon. Ciao!